Hello, Miss Gupta. Thank you so much for taking the time to join our podcast. I'd love to give a brief introduction and then we can get into some of the questions from our audience. So, Megha Gupta is a seasoned engineering leader with over 17 years of experience at Google, where she's led large-scale platform projects on search, ads, assistant, mobile identity messaging products, so basically everything that we've used. Originally from a small town in India, she has very successfully transitioned from a technical individual contributor to a strategic leader running successful engineering teams. Megha is also deeply committed to empowering women in technology, so she serves as a career and leadership coach as well. And her leadership philosophy centers around ownership without a title and curiosity over competence, encouraging the next generation of women builders to optimize for learning and create their own economic leverage through technology. And she's also an alumni of the Stanford University Graduate School of Business. She's a thought leader and she bridges the gap between deep technical excellence and organizational leadership. Welcome, Megha, to the ChiCode podcast. We're very honored to have you here today.
Thank you, Nishi. And thank you for having me here. And it is wonderful to see the impact ChiCode is making, providing technical education and a supportive community for young women from global and non traditional backgrounds is really a powerful catalyst. And it's changing life trajectories. I'm so glad that you are doing this. Really well done. And so excited to be part of this podcast to share my story.
Thank you. Thank you. First question, we want to kind of learn more about your early journey. So many of our students are at the stage where they're building their foundation technical skills. Either they're switching from a career they have in the past or they're younger students. And so they're juggling maybe work, family, like resettling into a new area. Looking back at your early career, what is one technical skill or mindset that you had that really accelerated your transition from school to like really the engineering leader you are today?
Yeah. So from my background, right, like I come from a small town and we always had the need for resources. We had limited like means, sometimes like, no power, electricity, no mobile. So when I was growing up, um, contrast to this stage of where we have instant access to information, like, internet and like, communication, everything solved. So I would say for the one mindset that I had, and I would love for young women to have is building that resilience, right? So it's not just about system thinking and understanding how system work, but more about thinking of systems as logical pieces which connect with one another. So understanding the flow across systems, their dependencies, and why they are created, what problems they are solving, and use your non-traditional background or like non-tech background as a leverage, because ultimately we all are human. And if you're coming from a like a human centric approach, you have that leverage of like you truly understand the human problem. At Google, we build for billions, so we have the scale, but we also need to keep in mind that all our products should solve some big problem that user is really facing. So this mindset comes from actually translating system to real problems that you solve. And it also has some phenomenon of resilience, like I would always prefer to shipping over perfection. So making small progress and shipping things to see how they land, how they are actually truly making an impact or truly helping solve some problem, be it the user or like some application, that has a way more power than actually waiting months down the line and shipping a very perfect polished product only to learn much later than it actually failed or not served its purpose. So system thinking, understanding the why and data flow, as well as connecting the dots with having the resilience to come back to it.
Very good answer. I think also adding on to that, how do you think that they can start to open themselves up to kind of learning about how to come with a human-centric approach? Maybe what are some things they can start doing early on? maybe
Mhm.
workshops or like going to conferences? What can kind of open up their lens?
Yeah. So my personal experiences have been all these attending conferences, workshops. They are really good, right? They are good. But what truly matters is how much you get to it, right? Like how much meaning it actually creates or impact it creates on you in terms of connecting it to the purpose you are trying to do that. So these workshops, unless it is connecting you with the right set of problems, or the say if it is a problem about say you are working on a website and you want to take the user from clicking on an ad to a thank you page.
Mhm.
So truly think about, if you are using this product, like what are the that you will come across, where will it fail, will you like it if it takes 20 seconds to load. So worry about the edge cases more than the happy path. So if you truly put yourself in the shoes of the user or try to think from their lens, you will actually see that okay, maybe the login page itself has not enough information to let the user move to the next page, as an example, right? So my approach has been always to identify the roadblocks, come up with some plan B, and find, get into the deep details of, what exactly can fail my team, my project, and I actually, trace back into the right solution. So instead of, mapping out like, hey, this is the happy path, this is, the failure rates, I actually first go back and say that, hey, these are my edge cases, let me solve for these. And yes, once I solve for my edge cases, I will always get to the happy path. So yes, these workshops and things did help to clarify some of the build some of the foundations. But the most learnings in my case has happened when I actually practically do things and build things and obviously break things many times.
So on the topic of like an hands-on approach, kind of working like on site to kind of learn more of these applications. So a lot of our participants are like refugee women, domestic workers who've barely had a lot of interaction with technology. And most recently, we've worked with refugee women from Iran and Congo who currently are in Greece, and they're looking to build their business online instead of having it be just solely an in-person business so they can kind of achieve more financial independence. So
Mhm.
from your perspective, what use of technology today can they get in touch with to create the greatest leverage for someone like them who are trying to change their career trajectory?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question and very deep question that I have always thought about, and not just like it comes into play in so many different ways, and I can tell you, right? So my thinking is that you don't need the most expensive tools today, especially in this AI world where like you have so much of infrastructure available, handy infrastructure available. You can use the tech to multiply your time and bypass these traditional gatekeepers. Like if you want to run a business, or if you want to set up a workflow, you can now use agents, right? To track expenses, to optimize your advertising, or set up a customer inquiry agent that can solve the workflow problem. So it is acting as a force multiplier. So the barrier to building real system has shifted now from writing code to actually architecting solutions.
Yep.
And how you would do is, you actually break down your overall workflow into parts, and you see what automatic solution or agentic pathways are available that can help you do the job of 10.
Mhm.
So instead of learning just to write code, which was very, very common in the time I was growing up, and computer science was booming, tech was booming. Now you have an agent to write code.
Yep.
You can focus more on actually solving the bigger problem. How do I solve this problem, which probably an agent cannot. So the trick there is orchestration, right? you can use your power to orchestrate or your own strength and human mind to think through, like, what are the possible scenarios, this can work or this should not work, or like this can fail. So it comes more into leadership and more about, like, employing these tools carefully and in the right fashion. So you multiply your power to critically solve problems, as well as leverage the rudimentary task, right? Managing the projects or writing these, like, code in one language or translating. So that's my take. I think, y- for people, for women of, like, non-traditional tech background, this is a real opportunity, right?
Yep.
Like, and people, it's not, you're not tied to a particular role, you're not tied to a particular background, you don't need a degree to
Yep.
actually do this.
I think it's the first time in a while where the barrier to actually develop something in through technology is not as difficult as it used to be. And
Absolutely,
talking
yeah.
like as a female leader, you've been like one of the biggest tech companies in the world for over 15 years now. Aside from the tech skills or the more technical skills that we see, what kind of soft skills as a female leader have you incorporated that you thought has taken you this far?
Mhm. So, Nishi, I just completed 17 years, and I'm close to 18 at Google. And Google has been my only career. So, I would say my career journey has taken many pivots. And the greatest learning I have had, switching from a heads down writing code from an individual contributor to becoming a thoughtful, strategic engineering leader, now running teams, is relationship and collaboration. Those are the two key players that determines how you navigate, how you work, and what happens next. So basically, these three things change how you think through system solutions, and it also help you move ahead or, like, stall. So a real example of this is, and this is one of my strength, like, collaboration, working with people and navigating and, like, taking ownership of things. So I never care about a title, right? Like as a contributor at Google, I never thought about, like, hey, do I have the title to do this job? I always used to think from a problem solving approach. I see my team is having this problem. There is a, like, nobody is writing the documentation, nobody is like, triaging the bugs or fixing this. It's been, like, not paid attention to. And I would, like, go ahead and, like, take it over, take it ownership and make it tractable, or, like, chase it until it is solved. So I think some of the learnings that happened in that way is I learned to be more creative. And people started noticing, right? Like, okay, maybe she's not the most senior person in the group, she's not the most technical person, or who knows about all the technical jargons, but she's bringing the right set of problems to attention, she is solving it. And that acted as my leverage to boosted my visibility among my leaders, showed me a path where, like, boosted my confidence that, hey, it's like I have my skills where I can grow. Combined with this strength, curiosity, solving the problems and taking ownership of small little things wherever I found an opportunity, I also worked on building my confidence through communication. So I think communication and working with others goes a long way towards navigating your career, because ultimately it's the people who kind of move you up, push you, or push you down, or, like, take you sideways. So it is like I have had the I'm very fortunate, I have had the privilege of working with very, very smart, very, very, like, nicest people, and having good, like, support from my leadership. I always felt I'm empowered to do and solve for things, which goes a long way. So it boosted my confidence. I started building, working on my communication. Yeah, I was not this I was not able to speak even this a few years ago. And working through my peer relationship, managing up, managing sideways, and just chasing through, working hard, all the normal things. I don't think I did anything out of the ordinary, or employed or learned any tactics or something to make my own path. I think everybody has an opportunity, and especially I tell this to young women. I have a daughter too, that think yourself as a leader, right? And leadership shows in very various different forms. Picking up a grungy work is leadership. Bringing it to your team's attention is leadership. You don't need a title or a role to actually exhibit leadership. Speaking up when you need to is also leadership. So these are my some of the things I learned through my journey, that you have to take ownership of your own career, be in the driver's seat. Nobody is going to do that for you. So yeah.
I think very good answer. I think we've seen that communication, amongst other skills, help you become the leader before the title itself. Along those lines, a recurring challenge that we see, especially amongst younger women, is feeling like underqualified in especially technical discussions. So you mentioned communication. What other strategies do you think can help women build their confidence without waiting for like explicit permission to be able to do something or contribute to a certain task?
Yeah. The other thing I would say is, practice extreme reliability. So this is again like adding on to what I said about relationship management, right? Building that foundation of trust among your peers or your leaders. Be the first person who follows up in terms of action. If the meeting ends with someone should look into this, be the one who summarize this, and summarize the action, maybe take some, assign some. It demonstrates that you are organizational aware. You're proving you can see through the system and you can look ahead, if nothing fall and nothing fails through the cracks. So I really appreciate in my team, if my team, one of my team members actually shows accountability, that hey, I'm worried about this might not be sufficient, or we may have some more bugs before we launch. How can we solve this problem? So coming up from that collaborative problem solving mindset builds that extreme reliability. So practice some of these things in your day to day. The other things, other soft things I would say is, a leader is someone who can stay calm under pressure. So, what differentiates them is not just different perspectives and their mindset, but whenever there is a crisis, instead of stressing about it, like what happens, oh my God, I'm not able to breathe. There is a big crisis. There is a incident happened. There is a privacy incident or whatever. The leader focuses on solution. Okay, I will worry about the outcome later, but let me first handle this. So they are really good at getting into a stable state as soon as possible. And my third thing is, it's leadership is also about making things better. um, you should always publicly acclaim, credit a peer's idea, if they offer something. Maybe they built a tool or they shared their knowledge. This builds social capital. So leaders are those who people want to follow because they feel supported by them. And when you support others, they are always ready to help, work for you, work for themselves, and support the team. So these are the things, if you do this in combination, it will help you, not just take charge, but more about stewardship and taking responsibility of the success as well as failures, and just build a strong team in general.
And on the topic of social capital and supporting one another, how can women help support each other, whether it be in a more technical environment or otherwise?
Mhm. So I think one thing I do, I'm very active in the women resource groups in my organization at Google. We have a lot of events where, like, sometimes we call guest speakers, and we kind of, like, feel have a safe space to actually talk about our career related things. And even if you are remote, this is one forum where you can connect to each other. You can have, like, ask these questions that, hey, I'm really having trouble building confidence in, like, this domain. Instead of waiting for permission, you kind of, like, validate this, and you will, it's wonderful to see so many women actually coming together and talking about their imposter. And I have seen, like, even VPs sometimes talking about, like, this is real. Like, sometimes I feel I'm running such a large organization, but I don't know about, like, this thing, and I feel, I don't know, someday people will discover that, and I'll be like, so it's all about supporting each other and creating these like events, or, like, way of connecting together. I also attend some local women events, where it is more about building a community of leaders, or, like, technical workshops. And I always come back and feed my team about how it is important to support each other, through knowledge sharing, through, like, sharing experiences.
Hmm.
um, and if it is about, like, going into a woman conference like Grace Hopper, but where you feel more motivated, but it's also about coming back and sharing what you learned, what was different. So this is how, like, you do it. um, and it's a personal example. Like, for my daughter, she's, like, 11 years old, and I kind of, like, also motivate her into, like, create your community, find your group where you have like-minded friends, and you can work out some problems. So, like, it maybe it's a technical problem, maybe it's something else, but stand up for each other, right? Like, build that build that kin where you can trust each other, you can empower each other, and you can feel yourself that, like, you can solve this. So together we can, like, make it much easier to navigate this.
Yep. I think definitely community is very important. And speaking not only just community, coming back and sharing your ideas like you're doing now actually with the rest of our community, I think that's very integral. One last question,
Mhm.
just to wrap it up. What's one piece of advice you wish that more young women, especially like we mentioned from underrepresented or non-technical backgrounds, heard much earlier in their tech careers?
Right. So I would say you're not alone. That people who would listen to this podcast, I have been through this myself, and I am sometimes the person who would think that, I don't know this, right? Like, I have discovered that confidence in tech isn't about knowing every answer. It is not. It is about mastering the art of technical inquiry. There is no person in this world knows the if you even talk to the smartest person, there will be something they won't know. So shift your and there are three strategies I would share, which is very fresh in my mind, is build that muscle without waiting for anyone to validate you. What it means is, in a room, in a meeting, you don't know a technical term. Instead of staying silent or feeling like a failure, or, like, why I don't know this, what will other people think, or like, if I ask this, you can say and phrase it like, can we pause and define this term? I'm still mapping this. I want to make sure I am mapping this to the architecture we have in our head. And this is not giving you permission to learn, or this is, like, about other people's judgment. It's about demonstrating that you care about the accuracy and alignment. And it is leadership. It is, like, caring about yourself. Make sure you understand as well as the team understands, even if they have not thought through it. Secondly, I would say own the edge cases, right? Like, so it's, as I said earlier, it's not always about the happy path, like, thinking about the human, always thinking about the human side of the system. As human, we will make mistake, we will fail, there will be systems that we will write, there will be bugs that will have code, that there will be code that will have bugs. So how do we make sure that if a customer or a user is using our product, they also go through a process which is seamless, which is easy to understand. And if there are bugs, what is our failure path, what is our plan, what is our resilience strategy, how can we, get back into stable state first. Third, which is the most important, is the build a brag document. I'm still working on this, and this is one of my to-do list, or one of my things that I plan to do this year. Is confidence is a byproduct of evidence. So keep a private document with you and log every time you fix a bug, you solve a problem, you get a peer bonus from someone, you get a compliment. When you feel underqualified, why this helps is, when you feel underqualified, you have that imposter, when you have doubts, you look at these documents, and then you see that this is the proof that I am growing, I am working hard, I am building things, I am solving problems. And that evidence goes a long way. It
Yeah.
shows that, there is data that proves that you are not forgetting your wins. While we all have, things we want to work on, this data validates that, you are still growing, you are still building towards your next level.
I think that's the last, especially the last point is just, I think it's such a good way to keep you motivated, especially when you feel like you haven't done enough. And I think on that topic, we're gonna close off today's podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time. Very, very thoughtful answers. We all appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come talk to us and give us more guidance on our careers.
Thank you so much, Nishi, for the opportunity to have me here. I really enjoyed the conversations with you. And I want to leave with one more note. We all are learning. So, yeah, I'm very, very excited to share my story with you. And I'm still learning. I will probably next time when we have a conversation, I will have better insights. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.